Would one of you guys talk about how you see the size of the industry in 5 years from now here in Colorado? What consolidation will take place? What will it look like? We have 150 banks now. What's it going to look like in 5 years?
Well, it'll be less. Koger talked about, I mean, there was, I forget the exact numbers, but there was a few years ago, there's 7,000 plus banks. Now there's 6,000 banks. If you talk to bankers in smaller banks, they used to say, just within a couple of years ago, hey, you need to be at least 300 million in size to survive, to just kind of have some efficiency around the rules and regulations, mainly. Then I heard the number go up to 500 million, and now I hear people saying $1 billion when you talk to them about the size they want to get to in order to survive. And Don described the number of banks. How many in Colorado? 150 total. Most of those are under any of those under 100 million. So you just have to look at the regulatory burden, that they see going forward. They don't all have great options. They need to consolidate. There aren't just buyers waiting in line these days too. So you have to have buyers to go with sellers. And there are some buyers, but there's some of those banks that people don't see a ton of value in. And so I think that makes it difficult as well. So I would say you would see continued consolidation. The bigger banks that are here mostly, will stay here. In addition to the big four, which were included in that, you still have other national, international players, Bank of the West, Compass Bank. You can go down the list. Those two banks are headquartered in Europe, actually. I mean, so we compete against the world here. The whole used to in banking, you could look on the other corner, and you say that's who we're competing with. Now you're competing against the whole world. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of changed the game where you do have to have a certain size, and you have to have a certain size to kind of from a technology standpoint as well.
I'm one that I don't believe this consolidation is good for us. And a little bit of background, I grew up on a ranch in northeast Colorado. We've been out there since 1876. In the 1980s, there was another tough time, and it was really tough for agriculture for a long time. And we were extremely fortunate that we had a really good banker in Sterling, Colorado, that had he not been a banker that you could still look in the eye and say, I believe you, and our ranch wouldn't be around. We worked our way through it. But a lot of this consolidation is going to it'll hurt the worst or the most at-risk areas. So you're talking about rural areas that, large banks aren't going to want to go in there. Or when you make a decision, somebody in a faraway place makes a decision that we're going to lend at this level, or we're not going to do this sort of thing anymore, or I don't care what the guy says, look, we're going to do X with it. And that stuff is going to go away as these small banks go away, and that is a loss. That's a loss for our communities and our society.